Hello and welcome to Good Evening Britain, a Force for Good's weekly show coming to you live from our studios here in the heart of the great British city of Glasgow with me, your host, Alistair McConnachie. We are broadcasting on all our digital platforms throughout the United Kingdom and across the world. We're bringing you quality, pro-UK comment and analysis every Wednesday from 7 until 8 p.m. on Facebook, on YouTube, on X, and also on TikTok. Folks, please do send in your greetings. Please tell us where you're watching from on this evening. Wherever in the country or the world it may be, tell us what's on your mind. We've got a few things on our mind tonight, which we'll share with you. We've also got a great guest coming up at the bottom of the hour at 7:30. It's the one and only Nick Mitchell from the WeSayIt Podcast. And Nick's been on the show before. He's a great friend of the show. Some of you will remember him from our event, which we held last year. This is Nick here. That was at the event back in April, the 23rd of April, 2024, when there was a massive, well, not a massive, but not even a very large, when there was an SNP rally in George Square at the opposite end of the square. And the reason we were there was to cause grief for Humza Yousaf by basically telling him that we did not like his recently launched hate speech act. And so we called that the Free Speech Rules rally back in April of last year. Nick was one of the great speakers at it. Dr. Alan McManus was another speaker. I was a speaker there. And basically all of us, all of the people who came out to demonstrate against Humza were very vocal speakers in the sense of making their point of view heard, especially when Humza Yousaf came onto the stage and he was not best pleased at the fact that we were calling out his hypocrisy for promoting such a problematic and anti-British free speech act, which unfortunately is still the law in Scotland. But maybe people will be elected in such a way that they can dispose of that in time. Anyway, we'll be talking about those sorts of issues and much else with Nick at the bottom of the hour at 7:30. Very much looking forward to that. Please stick around for that. If you're on TikTok, you won't see that because it will be on the video screens here. So if you want to watch our interview with Nick, check out YouTube or Facebook or X, where we are currently streaming. And folks, do give us a repost on X. Do give us a like on X. Please drop in a comment if you can, because that will make sure it gets out to lots of other people. If you're watching on YouTube, give us a thumbs up. That really helps also. And of course, on Facebook, give us a share, give us a comment, say hello, and give us a like. And that, what that does is it gets out to other people. The software algorithms pick up the fact that people are watching something, people are liking something, people are reposting something, and it will send it out further through the system for other people to hear about it. So that's a really good way of getting it heard by other people, is just simply clicking on the like, giving some kind of engagement. Anyway, folks, how are we tonight? Who was first in? Debbie was first in. Good to see Debbie. Says, good evening, one and all. She says she loved Trump dropping the F-bomb. Well, that was something, wasn't it? That was a unusual thing. He seemed to be blowing off a little bit of steam. He wasn't too happy yesterday. Some people saw that. Went viral, obviously, seen by millions. Derek says, good evening, AFFG family. Hope everyone is doing well. Hope you're doing well also, as we hope Oksana is doing well. Hi to you and to Catherine. And good to see Dominic in the house. Greetings to you, Dominic. Christopher says, a wonderful British evening to all. And good to see Derek from Armadale. And Eric all the way over from Ohio. Wonderful. I hope things are good in Ohio this afternoon or lunchtime, perhaps. Catherine reposted this stream. Thank you. That helps if you can give us a repost. Brilliant stuff. Good. Well, the various things I want to just touch on tonight. The first thing is, as you know, we're running a crowdfunder. It's a 28-day job. We're halfway through. We are at 14 days, the 14-day moment, and we're about 18% of our goal last time I looked. So anybody just want to keep us going for the rest of the year, want to stick in a $5 or a $10 or more, please do take the opportunity to jump over there, crowdfunder.co.uk/summer 2025. And we've got some rewards there as well for those who want to claim it. If you want to make a donation, you click on the reward button of your choice. And one or two people have been picking up this wee badge, which we'll send you for free, otherwise worth £6, a Union Jack heart with a force for good written through the center of it. Very attractive little badge, that. Good stuff. Now, talking about activism, we were out, had a very successful day of activism last Saturday. There was a Scottish nationalist march in Stirling. They have these marches in Stirling once a year to commemorate the Battle of Bannockburn, which is a very interesting part of British history. And we remember it also, although not perhaps from the Scottish nationalistic point of view, but just from a wider British point of view. Anyway, we always film and count they call it the all under one banner marches, AUOB marches, and they get smaller each time. And what we did with this one was we counted it and we put it set to some music, and the video lasts for just about 56 seconds. So let's just play that now. Well, that was put together rather amusingly by one of our campaigners. And that video, as soon as we released it, I think, before they had even got to the Bannockburn field, and we had counted them in at 328. And so they didn't dare, after that, give a number of actual people that they claimed to have been on it. But 328 there. So we put that out, and it got 58,000 views on X across various accounts, 20,000 views on our Facebook Reel, 19,000 views on the Facebook browser, 18,000 on Instagram Reels, over 14,000 on TikTok, and almost 3,000 on YouTube, giving a grand total so far of 132,000 views of that video that you've just seen, which really is quite extraordinarily good activism for the activists that went over and did that. And to those who did, thank you very much for doing that. And all we can say to the AUOB people is, we know you're having a march in Edinburgh in October, and guess what? We'll have our secret special forces spy team keeping our beady eye on you there as well. And we've made a bit of a name for ourselves because we've been doing this now since 2018, and we have been keeping a close eye for historic posterity, because the worst thing that can happen is 50 years from now, somebody reading a history book that says the AUOB people had 250,000 marchers in Edinburgh, when the reality was we counted them at just over 11,000. So this is how falsehood gets written into history. And I was reading another article this morning about a fight in the 1700s between 13,000 people. I was like, no way. It was the Battle of Vinegar Hill. That was it. It came up. It was a battle in what's now the Republic of Ireland. And it was saying there was 13,000 British troops involved. And this was 17 something. I'm like, that's massive. That's massive. That can't be right. That cannot be right. And so I have this theory that people just, back in those days, people just looked at a big crowd of guys and they go, what do you think that is? And the reality is it's maybe like 800 or something like that. And they'll go, oh, 20,000. And that gets written into history. That's my theory. How I'll ever prove that, I don't know, especially when you go back to those days. But anyway, that's a little diversion. Talking about Stirling, though, today, the 25th of June, was the day 3 years ago that our organisation was in Stirling, watching the All Under One Banner March in Stirling that year. And it happened to be the year of the Queen's Jubilee, Platinum Jubilee. And so we thought what we'll do is we'll combine our count with an actual celebration of Robert the Bruce from the wider British historic point of view, because the present day royal family is a direct descendant of Robert the Bruce. So we had this brilliant banner done, which we'll stick up a picture of. And it said, Bruce to Elizabeth. And where is that picture? There it is. Bruce to Elizabeth, our great British monarchy. So they we were given a historic education for the folk there, about the line, as it were, how it came down from Bruce to James VI of Scots, who then became the king of all of Great Britain, from which the present royals are descended. So that was a good day. That was taken early on the day. We had about 3 times that number. Let's go to the next pic. Three of our activists there. Okay. That's a nice picture. Let's go back to that other one. The hoodies there, they say British Together. You can get that from our teespring.com shop. Have we got the teespring.com shop banner? Let's see if we do. It's one of these websites that doesn't put up. Yeah, basically just go to our shop and there's a link there to our t-shirt and hoodie store. That's the best way of accessing those very colourful hoodies. Okay. Next pick. Some really good flags there. Some really good flags. Next pick. Let's get rid of that shop banner. There we go. That was back when Sturgeon was still in charge. Sturgeon destroying Scotland from within. Colourful chat there. Okay. So that was back. That was 3 years ago. So folks, if you would love to do more of that activism, we do have more activism coming up. We're going to be out 3 times in the next month. And if you'd like to help us do what we do, then please, the Crowdfunder banner there is going along the bottom, crowdfunder.co.uk/summer 2025. Now, folks, in a quarter of an hour, we've got Nick Mitchell coming up. Looking forward to that. Some of you know that we've been engaged in writing a book. It's volume 2 of a big book for the union. This one's going to be called Protect Our Country. The first one was One Big Country. This one's going to be called Protect Our Country. This one was about how Britain comes together within the union. And the second one is going to be about how if you have a country, you have to have proper border control. And so it's going to be dedicated entirely to policies for effective border security, which will make our country sovereign and secure and above all safe for us all. And it's going to be about 1.5 times the size of that one. It's going to be that thickness plus about another half. It could actually be twice the size of that, but the thing is, when you get it printed by Amazon, the thicker it is, the bigger it is, the bigger charge Amazon is going to take, and so the more we have to charge the customer. But I'm hoping that we can sell it at $12.99 or less. But instead of being 28,000 words, it's going to be pushing 40,000 words. All original, all unique, all new. Just like our article that we did last week, or rather a chapter that we wrote and that we've actually put up, called A New Asylum and Refugee Program, which is a 45-point program to control the borders around the English Channel, which we're going to be going down and having a look at in July with our friend Nick Mitchell and others. And we'll be talking about that when we bring Nick on. But talking about crazy stuff, today it was announced in the Daily Telegraph that somebody has been prevented from being deported to Tajikistan because apparently the authorities there don't allow men to grow beards because they are concerned about Islamic extremism. So if you're a man with a beard, you get it shaved off, believe it or not. Just learning this today. There it goes. Migrant can stay in UK because he does not want to shave. And the Telegraph is good at putting up these clickbait titles that just drive people up the wall and are guaranteed views. But are also correct. Tajik man wins appeal after arguing he could be arrested and have his facial hair forcibly removed if deported. Now, just to give you a little bit of background on that, basically the what he's claiming is under Article 3 of the European Convention on Human Rights. It says, quote, "No one shall be subjected to torture or to inhuman or degrading treatment or punishment." And so if you're in this country, then you can appeal against deportation if you feel that you're going to be subjected to torture or to, quote, inhuman or degrading treatment or punishment. Now, the thing with that clause, I mean, it sounds fair enough on its face, but like all of these things, the definition of what is inhumane or degrading gets stretched in time. It gets stretched in time. I mean, in the old days, what was degrading in, London was if you robbed somebody, you got stripped naked and put in a gibbet and hung from a bridge, and for all of the winter until you expired. Now, that's not exactly what's going to happen to that guy if he goes to Tajikistan. He's just going to get his beard shaved off, which will no doubt be very humiliating, very annoying, but it's not exactly what I would say torture. But that's been expanded. The definition has been expanded. And that particular clause, which is Article 3, doesn't have an exemptions paragraph beneath it. All the other articles in the ECHR have exemption clauses, which mean that the first paragraph will not apply to you if you are a dangerous criminal, if you are a threat to national security, if you're a threat to the democracy, etc., etc. And so there's always a paragraph 2 and exemptions, or what's called a conditional clause, which very often is there in order to exempt certain behaviours that aren't included under the first article. But Article 3 does not have an exemptions clause. It's just if you say you're going to get tortured or degraded or subject to inhumane punishment, then we just kind of have to take your word for it, and we have to obviously adjudicate upon it. But what has now happened is that that's got stretched to the point of absurdity. Let's put that back up again to see what else they say about that. In Tajikistan, beards are unofficially banned by the government, and hundreds of thousands of men have been arrested for having one. Okay, unofficially banned, but they still get arrested. Men are arrested, shaved against their will, and have their fingerprints taken by police. It is part of a government campaign to try to prevent men from becoming radicalized and joining Islamic extremist terror groups. His initial claim was dismissed, but he appealed and secured a further hearing of his case after it was ruled that being forced to have his hair removed amounted to persecution rather than being the result of social pressures. Okay. Well, that's that word persecution again, and that also has been stretched considerably. In our 45-point program, which is going to get published in our book, we point out that originally, if we go to the UN Refugee Convention, which is a different convention, if we go to that, what we find is that persecution was defined as a direct threat to life or freedom. In other words, if there was a clear and present danger that you were going to be killed or you were going to be unjustly imprisoned, then you could claim asylum. And to be frank, we need to get back to that definition, which will mean throwing out decades of case law that has expanded that definition of persecution. And however, so long as we are remaining part of the UN Refugee Convention, then the courts will tend to be obliged to follow all the previous case law on what does and does not amount to persecution. And so you're going to get lots of ridiculous claims being made for people who are not in danger of having their life threatened or their freedom threatened. They're simply in danger of being in a situation which they'd rather not be in and which might be mildly unpleasant. but is not going to be life-ending. So we need to get back to that sort of thinking, really, unless we're just going to say that anybody who's living in a state of misfortune or in a war zone or something like that, that they're all entitled to asylum. That's just unworkable, because there will be hundreds of millions of people like that in the world every day forevermore, and they can't all come and live in Glasgow, even though it seems like that's exactly what's happening at the moment. Folks, we've got a friend, Nick Mitchell, coming up at the bottom of the hour. Stick around for that. Thanks for the folk on TikTok. Now, when we bring on our guest, we're going to have to say goodbye to the folk on TikTok. But what you need to do, folks, is go over to youtube.com/UK A Force for Good. And you'll see the interview with Nick, or also go over to our x.com/UK A Force for Good to see the interview with Nick, because you won't be able to see it on here. Hi to everybody, though, who is watching, and for the comments. I'm going to say hi to all these folk. Good. Now, let's just run a quick video of Nick here. This was Nick at the Free Speech Rules rally. It's a little bit chaotic. I just spotted this one today, and it gives you a flavour of the event last April 2024. Let's run that just now.
And you better listen good. I will not be silent. This is my war. This is your war. So stand up and be counted. Because if you allow this SNP government to continue on, you're going to end up completely controlled with no way back. This is a turning point. And you know what? You may hate me for this, but I'm going to explain why I'm going to say this. I'm also here to stand up for that.
Very good. The last words that I heard there was, I'm actually here to stand up for that mob too. And I'll ask Nick what he meant by that. Now, let me just see, is Nick in the house yet? Folks, please do say hello to Nick. Before we do that, I just want to see that we've got everything yet. Nick, good evening to you.
Good evening, Alistair, and good evening all watching along. Yes, why am I there to stand up for that mob? Why would I do that? Why would I do such an idiotic thing? Very simply, they are part of the UK. We are together as the UK, we're together as Scotland. They will be controlled the very same as we will be if the SNP get in 2026. They will be decimated like the rest of us in 2026 if the SNP get in again. So it takes one man to speak up. It takes all of us to stand together. And together 100%. We need to stand because we cannot allow the SNP to get back in 2026. It just cannot simply happen. It will be the detriment of Scotland. It will be the end of Scotland as we know it. if we think we're in bad times now, we're going to be in even worse times come 2026. And that's why I'm standing up for that mob.
Exactly. Yeah, they were down at the other end and we were up at the other end, and they were unfortunately just following without much thought the whims of the SNP people and Humza Yousaf as well, who thankfully resigned about 7 days after that event. So I would like to think that in a small way, you and I and everybody who was there put some sort of psychological pressure upon him to say, well, do you know what? I've had enough of this at this precise moment. Of course, there was other factors in there also, but it was a successful event, and your speech went down extremely well. You were extremely eloquent and well received, I might add. And you had also been at the Scottish Parliament earlier that month, actually.
Was it that month? I can't remember.
Yeah, it was the 1st of April. It was the 1st of April because I remember that Humza Yousaf launched the act. It became an act on the 1st of April, and everybody thought that was
April Fools.
April Fools, yeah. So we've got a picture of you there. There you go. I control my tongue, not the government, nor the police. My freedom of speech is my human right. I will not be silent. And I think that's basically the mission statement behind your podcast, the We Say It podcast. Was that how long's it been going for now, Nick?
I think we're going into our proper second year. This is like so I basically launched it properly January last year. So we're going into it. We're halfway through our second year, basically. So we're still pretty much early days. We are still building. We're still growing. Unfortunately, I just lost my main TikTok account. So I'm completely banned on TikTok. No surprise there. So I'm having to start again. Posted a couple of videos of some old Billy Connolly comedy on quite a relevant topic, actually, just to try and build up. It's sitting on something like 86,000 views or something. So
very good.
You know, we're getting there, but I'm trying a different avenue to try and rebuild this TikTok up. But yeah, so it's been a slow process, but we'll get there.
Well, what I think is really good and what I like about your podcast is the name. We Say It. 3 words, 3 syllables, and it immediately grabs your attention. And you've got a good design there. You can see the design in the background. You've got branded hoodies and also caps. Also, that it's a very good vehicle, good name, good image. Can definitely travel if one is able to navigate the types of platforms that you're on. The one that you're on, which I no doubt allows you to say whatever you want, is rumble.com, where people just go on there, search for We Say It Podcast, and you're on that. And you're also on X as well.
I think Rumble's still quite a new concept to a lot of people. A lot of people don't actually know what it is. It is effectively just it's like another YouTube. It's just completely 100% freedom of speech. I can literally say anything I want. I will never be banned. I have never had a violation. I've never had a video removed, nothing. I think I've had about a dozen videos removed from YouTube and constant violations, and people told me I should use YouTube, but I just can't. I just can't. But it is what it is. Sometimes I get a bit too excitable.
Yes. No, Rumble is still, as far as the United Kingdom is concerned, it's still very much not really known by people, and it's not been that necessary in Britain because, generally speaking, YouTube has has delivered the goods. We do have a backup channel on rumble.com. Every week we upload one of our videos. The full show, we upload it onto rumble.com just as a kind of backup as well, but we don't really get the views on there at all.
Yes, that is a hard platform.
Especially for British creators. It's very much an American type platform, where you'll get lots of stuff, but I mean, it's open, it's free. All you need to do is type in rumble.com and your life could change overnight by some of the political and just scientific things and stuff that you read. It's like, I've never, it is life-changing in many ways as far as hidden information is concerned. But that aside, let's not talk about that at the moment. Let's talk about you and I and some colleagues are going down to Dover. Now, this is going to be on the 19th of July. And it was basically your idea. You were the one that got all of this in motion one day when you contacted me. Would you like to tell me what was your original thoughts about why we should go to Dover?
Yeah, so I had this idea around about February or March, I think it was, and I thought, you know what? Me being me, I'm quite sceptical about everything. I believe nothing of what I hear and only half of what I see. So yes, I see the videos. I see the videos of the people coming in on the boats. I see the posts. It was 1,000 today. It was 400 today. It was 1,200 today. And I'm going, my degree of skepticism going, is it really this bad? I'm not saying it's not, but is it really this bad? Let me see for myself. I am going to go here myself and I am going to witness it. If I need to spend a week down there, I will spend a week down there. But so I thought, you know what? Let's put this plan into motion. Let's find a day. Let's organise a day or a weekend to go down, speak to some of the locals, get their thoughts, what's happening, how they feel about things, how they see the future going, etc., and see exactly what is happening. Now, it just so happened that this, I'm going to call it movement, appeared out of nowhere, the Great British National Protest. And I went along to phase 1 in Edinburgh. So phase 1 was consisted of 72 locations throughout the whole of the UK, where we basically just gathered together in our cities, Edinburgh, Glasgow, Stirling, Perth, Dundee, etc., etc. And so that was phase 1. So that was just putting the word of mouth out there. Now we're going into phase 2. Phase 2 is get to Dover. That's it in a nutshell. Get to Dover by any means necessary. That's people watching along tonight. Tell your friends, whoever, get to Dover on the 19th of July. This is bigger than me. This is bigger than yourself. This is bigger. This isn't about what I've kept saying. This isn't about me. This is about my future generations, i.e. my kids, my grandkids, and further down the line of succession. And it's the same for all of us. If we don't do something now, within the next 3 years, 3 to 5 years, I reckon, come 2030, the UK will no longer look like the UK. We will be decimated, we will be gone, we will be the minority in this country, whether you choose to admit it or not. This is what's going to be happening. So if you're able to make the journey, absolutely do it. Now, this is phase 2. Phase 3 is already in motion. I am in communication with Richard, the guy who basically started this movement. We'll call it a movement, because it's not, now this is key, it is not a protest, right? It's not a protest, because the local council of Dover have said we cannot hold a protest on the beach, right? Prepare yourself for this. This is a Billy Connolly take right now. We are not allowed to hold a protest on the beach because it will endanger the weeds on the beach.
Goodness sake.
This is their excuse. It will cause damage to the weeds on the beach.
Some sort of rare plant that they're claiming is going to be there.
Just the weeds.
No.
Just weeds. That's it.
Okay.
That's it. That is the excuse they gave. So we're not going there as a protest. We are going there as members of the public because it's publicly accessible. This is what we need to remember. But I have two theories on this. Now, first of all, I am fully expecting to have a resistance there. Now, this is getting bigger as time's going on. There will be a resistance. I'm positive. Not sure who it's going to be from, but it will be there. Second of all, I think the authorities will get wind of this and they will make sure not a single boat enters the United Kingdom on the 19th of July.
Good point.
I guarantee you not a single boat will enter on the 19th because we will be there. Now, we have an ace up our sleeve here, right? As in me, you, and our colleagues that are going down. We are travelling down on the Friday. We will be partaking in the, not a protest, on the Saturday, but we will also be there on the Sunday. So now we can hang about a little bit on the Sunday, just on the off chance, we'll see something that the others won't. So we've got that little ace up our sleeve.
Absolutely. Good thinking. That's a good one. That's a good one. Yeah. Yeah. And
if things go the way I think, which I'm very really wrong, but I think we will get the better end of the deal here. But we'll see what happens.
Yeah. The authorities are going to know that there's going to be this demo, not a protest, as you say. And I don't know how many people will be there, but I'd like to think several hundred anyway will be able to amass. And we can't, as you say, get onto the beach because the beach isn't particularly big in the centre of Dover. It's a shingle beach as well. It's not sand. And as you're saying there, the authorities seem to be saying that there's little weeds growing up between the stones that need to somehow be protected on this particular day. As if what we're going to be doing anyway, walking about pulling the weeds out. I don't think so. I mean, we'll just be leaving them there. But nevertheless, that seems to be the way that they've got round it. Dover as well has this terrible MP called, Tapp, T-A-P-P. What's his first name? I can't recall. But I once left a message, a comment under one of his posts saying, you're the Dover MP. It's your job to stand up for your constituents. You should be trying to stop this happening. You should be trying to say my constituents don't want all this carry on happening down in the docks, etc., etc. And he just blocked me. And apparently he does that with everybody. But that's the person that's the MP. So maybe we can find out where his constituency office is, and we can hold our big banner if we can raise the funds for it through our crowdfunder. We can hold a big banner outside his constituency office saying asylum frauds out. And that would be an extremely good thing that we could do. I'm making a note of that right now so I don't forget it.
No, definitely.
So, yeah, is it Mike? I don't want to say what the name is without getting it right, but visit his office, and we'll get some good shots of the White Cliffs of Dover. The White Cliffs of Dover. I've never been down in that area before. I've never seen the White Cliffs. That'll be something to get some good shots there. We can get some good publicity shots of that in the background. One of the great podcasters up here, Craig Houston, went down to Dover last week, and he got some video footage of what was going on there. And I'm glad he went down because I watched his video, and so now I know where the boats are coming in, at what particular dock that they're coming in at, which one to head to. So as a consequence of that.
So Craig actually, I was speaking with Craig. Craig actually went down thinking that the event was this month.
All right.
And he was like, oh no, and he said, oh no, it's July, it's not June. So it kind of worked out okay for him. At the same time, it was a win-win.
Absolutely. It was a win-win because he got some great video content out of it, and GB News contacted him as a result of the video content, and it looks like he's been on twice now on GB News, so hopefully that's worked out very well for him. Congratulations to Craig, voice of common sense, one of our own here from Glasgow. So yeah, that's really good. I'm really looking forward to that, and making a few new contacts also, no doubt. And are you planning on any posters or anything?
Yeah, so I've got I'm going to be making up 3 banners, not banners, sorry, 3 boards, kind of like the one that I had at Holyrood with I Will Not Be Silent. I'm not going to disclose what's going to be written on them as such until the day. They will be kept secret, lock and tight. I know for a fact that one of them will ruffle a few feathers. But you know what? I've never been one to shy away from confrontation. So I'm here for it. But going forward, obviously, this is something that people actually need to understand is a very, very serious issue as to what we're dealing with in this country. If you don't see it as a very serious issue, then I don't know what to tell you. People's lives are going to be affected by this in one way or another. And especially, now I had this thought the other day, especially if the SNP win, and as we know, they're still pushing this independence boat. This is their one and only trick. They're a one-trick pony. This is it. Now, if Scotland does get independence, let's not go down that road, but if it does, the first thing they're going to do is get us right back into the EU. That's rule number 1. That's what they're going for. They've already said it. We get independence, we're going back into the EU. You watch our shores, not Dover, not England. You watch Scottish shores be infiltrated en masse with immigrants, because there will not be a damn thing we can do about it because of the EU.
Yeah.
And we'll have to take them. We'll have to take them. Now, we're not too bad up here now. We do have a level of immigration up here and illegal, but we're not as bad as England yet. But if people can honestly sit there and think, sitting in their chair at 10 to 8 on a Wednesday evening with a cup of tea, that it's happening in England, they're going to get to the border of Scotland and go, no, we don't want to go any further. We're okay where we are. No, don't be so stupid or naive. They will absolutely come into Scotland and we will be overrun, especially if independence happens.
Yeah, that's 100% true. Absolutely. And what we must try to encourage people to understand now, and I think more people are coming to understand it, especially young people as well, is that this is actually an existential crisis. Now, by existential, I mean existence. It's a crisis of our actual existence as a nation. And you look at Scotland, where 5 million native Scots, probably a little bit more, and that's a very small population. And as such, it's a very fragile population that can easily be replaced because the number of people of that 5 million who are actually sustaining the native Scots is a smaller proportion. It's only people between the ages of 18 and 40 or whatever are doing that. And so what John Swinney wants, he looks at that and he goes, well, the native population of Scotland is declining. Well, okay, so it's declining. That doesn't necessarily matter so long as the borders are secure and so long as that population can live secure within that border. It can be declining or it can be stable or whatever, but it's not a danger. But when you say the population is declining, so we're going to open the borders and bring in endless billions of the rest of the world, then your population can just be totally swamped, totally replaced very, very quickly. And we see that happening in these big English cities. London now is, 30% white? Well, I remember walking about London in the 80s, which is 40 years ago, and it was very much overwhelmingly just a traditional native English city. So I was reading a statistic today that in New York City, which just yesterday elected a Muslim mayor, of the population of New York City, only 40% are born in America. So in other words, it's it's 40% foreign born. So 40%, and not immigrants of second or third generation, but ones who have come in this lifetime, in their own lifetimes. 40% of the population of New York City was born abroad right now. So it's just going to turn in. I mean, New York City used to be largely thought of as a Jewish city. Now it's going to be a Muslim city. And that's what happens, is that these numbers will just replace you. And then when it gets to that stage, you can't vote your way out of it. I mean, when Scotland becomes 51% non-native Scots, reform's never going to win. And obviously people will say, oh no, there's Muslims that will vote for reform. Yeah, of course there certainly is, but they are the exception to the rule. We're talking about just huge numbers of people and how they just naturally go with their own particular interests, which are not necessarily going to be yours or mine. So it's easy to be replaced.
It could work in our benefit here, actually. Let's look at the double-edged sword here. We could become the minority, which means we could become the protected classes here. So we might become the protected classes. We might get special treatment for being white. And
I've got a theory on that. My theory is that diversity only works if you have a majority white ruling class and a majority white society, because whites are the only ones who believe in that. So that's the irony. If you're a liberal, you should actually want societies to continue to be majority white and majority white governing, because these are the only people who believe in diversity. Once it turns the other way, you'll find that we're not going to get the special treatment, because the other groups of people don't really understand that concept or why it should even be a thing. It's very much a white liberal thing.
DEI only exists in Western ideology. You go to the Middle East and you talk about DEI and they go, what? What's that? They don't know. And I know this firsthand because I was in the Middle East last year. And it's like, what do you think of DEI? And they go, what's that? Is that some like agency or something like CIA, MI5? And I was like, no, it's diversity, equity, and inclusion. And then they go, what? It's a foreign concept to them.
It is a foreign concept to them. Yeah, absolutely. What country was it you were in?
I was in the United Arab Emirates last year.
Right. How did you find it? Fantastic.
Unbelievable. In all aspects. Safe, clean, welcoming. Everything basically the UK is not right now if you're a white man. Basically. Me going over there as the foreigner, I was very welcomed. Very welcomed. But obviously going forward, guys, yes, we've only got a few minutes left. We need you to stand beside us on the 19th of July if you can make the trip to Dover. If you cannot make the trip to Dover, don't worry, because phase 3 is already in progress and phase 3 will consist of multiple cities again. So after Dover, there will be more details released on phase 3, where they'll be coming again to your local cities, Glasgow, Edinburgh, etc. So if you can't make it to Dover, not to worry, you will get another opportunity to stand beside us and let your voice be heard, let your fears be known. You shouldn't fear this, but at the same time, you should fear it. It's kind of a contradiction there, but we have our reasons as to why we're doing what we're doing. Now, obviously, me and Alistair and the other couple of gentlemen heading down, we are only a little number, but together we can be stronger. Hence why Alistair goes on about what he does, stronger for Britain, stronger together, Britain together, etc. And that is how we need to remain at the minute. We need to remain together.
100%, Nick. And Dover's not an easy place to get to. We struggled to figure out how best to get to it, what the cheapest way was, and we came up with the car as being the only really way that our particular group could do it at the lowest possible cost, because of that. So that's, unfortunately, there's no room in our car, the car that we're using, for anybody else. I'm sorry to say, it will only fit the 4 who are going down. But as you say, there will be other opportunities. Now, Nick, just to say thank you, you're on x.com/WeSayIt Podcast. And if you go to rumble.com, you're on there as well. Simply just search WeSayIt Podcast in Rumble,
I would say.
You'll find
Rumble, I would say, guys, if you can get onto the Rumble channel, that would be greatly appreciated. That is where the big things happen, if you want to call it that. That's where the true words come out, the true freedom of speech. So if you can drop me a follow on that, as well as follow Alistair on all of his socials as well. Rumble is going to be the future eventually. I would say in the next 1 to 2 years, they're doing massive things over there, and they will end up taking over because of simply their morals and where they stand on the freedom of speech. Because as we know, freedom of speech is also being attacked in the UK. One instance is obviously this Lucy Connolly case, which is going on quite extensively, which a lot of people are talking about now. How a mother can be jailed for 31 months for posting something on X is baffling to me. I'm like, how is that possible? You know, but that's another conversation.
Yeah,
thank
absolutely.
you again, Alistair, for having me on. It was an absolute pleasure as always. And if I don't speak to you, which I probably will, but if I don't speak to you before July, which is highly unlikely, I will be looking forward to seeing you. And as we take our long 10-hour car journey down to Dover, because I have a feeling that's roughly what it's going to take.
Exactly. And once we're there, I know that you'll be creating content for your viewers on the We Say It podcast. We'll be doing the same. We'll be able to have interviews and share content, and should be a good piece of activism. Very much looking forward to it, Nick. Okay. Thanks for having you on, and we'll say goodbye.
Thank you again, Alistair. Have a good one, guys.
Good. Excellent. Good. Nick Mitchell from the We Say It podcast. Really looking forward to doing some collaboration, as the kids say these days, down in Dover with a couple of other colleagues. We've been planning it. We want to get our book launched at it. We want to get a banner made up, and we're going to need a wee bit to help us when we're down there. So anything that people can offer at the crowdfunder.co.uk/summer 2025 would be much appreciated, folks. We're halfway through our crowdfunder. It ends on the 9th of July, and we are not asking for very much. We're not asking for even as much as John Swinney earns in 1 week. And so you know that we do spend our income extremely frugally and extremely well. And so it's not going to go to waste. There's no money here even for salaries. This is all just for costs. Costs of keeping the show on the road. Costs, for example, of keeping this StreamYard streaming software going each month, which is around about £40 or so just every month. From that alone, as well as the costs of the other platforms that we're on, podcast platforms and other such domains. So, folks, it's been a great show. Catherine there says thank you. To Nick, great chat and good luck. Looking at other comments that maybe I could have read out earlier in the show. Debbie's talking about Stirling. She says, the Silent Clownsman said on Saturday that he misses your banter and our presence. Must be pretty boring for them now. That was the chap that used to stand in front of their march with his Yes banner and his saltire spectacles. Good stuff. Good stuff. Okay, folks. Derek says it was a brilliant show. Oksana says thanks. And it's a fabulous broadcast. Rafa says bye-bye, Alistair and Nick. And he thought it was a nice live stream. Well, I'm glad you enjoyed it, Rafa. Christopher says great content and analysis. Thank you. Good. Screenshot for the future. We'll be back next week. We've got another guest next week. It's Damien from down in the Liverpool area. He's been on the show before. Always a great guest. He's a Reform Party man. He'll be telling us how they're getting on down there. That'll be next week. Looking forward to that. In the meantime, it just remains for me to say, God bless the United Kingdom and God save the King. See you next week.